Thank you so much for being here. I know that we created a little bit of confusion because there are 4 Italians people here, and actually even if we work in different fields with different backgrounds and different universities, we all work together somehow. So you saw a lot of our names because we wrote a couple of papers together, but actually I'm here to present this project, which is food saving. This paper has been written with Francesca, and you had the chance to hear her yesterday. But anyway, so my background is in economics, actually, and I work in a non-profit field, civil society organization, social innovation, philanthropy, and this is why I participated to this call because these topics are linked to sustainable development. Sorry. Great. But actually, so I don't know anything about cultural diplomacy, or more or less anything. So these days, thank you and to all the speakers, I was very curious about it, and I tried to think why this topic could be also interesting for cultural diplomacy, apart from the fact that food is something that, of course, belongs to any culture, whatever food you like or you eat or you can eat for whatever purpose. But also because it's the typical mean of connection. I mean, whether it is a romantic dinner or a business lunch, but basically you go to eat together with people very often when you don't know them. So that's another thing which I liked. I don't know if it's cultural diplomacy, but I can buy it. And also I thought that yesterday night, actually, I found out I didn't know that the Mediterranean diet was inscribed in 2013 in the Cultural Heritage of Humanity of UNESCO, of course, in the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. And of course, Italy is one of the representative countries of this diet. And also that cultural diplomacy has something to do with identities. This is the definition of the Mediterranean diet, and it talks about, skills, knowledge, rituals, symbols, traditions. I think we talked a bit about these things these days. But also the sharing and consumption of food, so habits of consumption. And the final thing is that cultural diplomacy, I heard something about trust, and then my grandmother always used to tell me that I don't have to trust someone who doesn't know how to cook. And so then I was very proud to say, okay, it was definitely judgmental, especially at her age. But actually, it's something true. I mean, we all cook, basically all cook in Italy, and we think it's something very important in our identity. So, again, I hope there is something that can be picked up. But anyway, so our food saving project objectives was basically the fact that it was a European project funded through the European Structural Funds. So that's why it was focused only on European regions, in particularly a region of Italy, France, Spain, and Germany. And the idea is that there is the need to pursue sustainable development, and of course we all know why. And actually the civil society organizations, together with business and public institutions, can do a lot to build sustainable development. And with this aim, the International Exposition was set up, actually, the Universal Exposition. You heard something about it yesterday, which is in Milan, which is my city. And also, the topic of the expo is to be much more, to get to much more participatory and empowered processes of decision making, also in these topics. So our project aims at understanding how it is possible to use food waste recovery, which is a big problem in high-income countries, as a means for addressing poverty. And the point is that, and you know about it, that we have in many high-income countries problems of obesity on one side and people suffering from hunger in others. And actually we have this problem also in middle-income countries and low-income countries. So, of course, with many different reasons, but still it's a common problem to some extent. So what we looked at was what we call food waste recovery or food surplus, is that part of food availability, so whatever is produced from agriculture, from industry, whatever, which is still edible by humans, but for some reasons which are often related to marketing, packaging, to economic, broadly intended reasons, is not eaten, and it just goes wasted. Okay, so that little part is the part that we looked at. So how to avoid food wasting intended at food that can be still eaten by someone who is suffering from hunger. And also, we didn't look at where the food waste is generated in the sense that like agricultural or in the industry process, but we looked at how can we manage it, so the link between the surplus food on one hand and the final beneficiary or the poor people on the other. And these are the 4 countries, as I said before. So what we did, we mapped, the literature, and we built up 65 case studies through site visits to many of them and in-depth interviews to all of them in these countries. Italy was the easiest. We also have currently a law on food waste, which is currently under proposal at the parliament, so it's kind of hot topic in our country at the moment. And so, this is very big. What I just want to say is that the orange part, the upper part, is where the surplus food is generated from companies, okay? So let's think at, I don't know, pasta or Barilla, maybe you know it, or many of you. It's, let's say, a corporation which produces pasta has a lot of, had a supply chain, of course, and there are some things that it can do when there is too much pasta, okay? So instead of throwing it away, it can do many things, and one of these is donation. So it can decide in its industry and business process to donate this surplus food. And where it goes, this donation, usually it goes to all this huge world of civil society organizations, associations, volunteering organizations, individuals, volunteers who collect this food and try to connect it to people who need it. And they can have really different forms. And of course, this is all embedded into a policy framework. And for example, I don't know if there is any French person here, but France has just adopted a law which says that food waste is a criminal act. So there is not only a sanction, we are into the crime realm, okay? So this is kind of very hard approach. So basically we focused on those, and what we did is just that how we mapped them, we try to understand how they can perform from an organizational point of view, from a social point of view, and from a relational point of view. So think about food banks, for example. So food banks can be connected to hundreds of organizations. So now that we have Expo, for example, every night when the Universal Exposition closes, every day at, I think, 11 p.m., and it opens again at 8 a.m., okay? So every night, hundreds of volunteers from food banks, they are the only people allowed to the Universal Exposition site to collect all the food which is in advance, and then to give it to churches, to give it to social kitchens, to give it to social markets, and whatever. So we mapped the network, so the network size, the relationship with corporations, and the relationship with public institutions. And we looked at the product mix. So of course, it's very easy to donate like pasta or biscuits, this kind of food, and it's much difficult to donate fresh and super fresh things like vegetables and fruits, which are, of course, the best in terms of nutritional requirements. And also how they can economically be sustainable, because unfortunately, this is a condition for their existence, since our public budgets are clearly shrinking. So, this is, we have a problem here, but anyway, the thing is that they are very different legal form, from big or small foundations to big or small organizations, and very different targets of this food recovery. So, Actually, I finished with my research. I think we don't have more time. If you want, I have also a lot of case studies to show you some different examples of these organizations, but I would leave it to the discussion, or I mean, I'm just here and I will be here, so we can talk about it later. Thank you very much.
Is Francesca also coming to speak? Or?
No.
You did it together,
yeah.
Let's open for a few questions. Do you
Yeah,
have
sure.
any questions about this topic?
Come to the podium,
which is perhaps one point where every human being finds its commonality.
Yes.
But we all need to eat, don't we? And yeah, absolutely. One here in the back, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm Elizabeth Amazi, I'm from Cameroon. You said France has just made a law in which food waste is a crime. But there's this problem where restaurants, they throw away their food after, like when they have leftovers, because when they donate it, they always end up with lawsuits for people accuse them of food poisoning or things like that. So in that case, who do you blame? Like, do you still accuse the restaurant of food waste, or I don't know?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was very short just to cut it down, but actually that law applies only to supermarkets. So not to restaurants, bars, or all places where food is cooked, is already cooked, because then you are absolutely right, then we have a different problem, which is I can donate it, but then if a person is somehow injured by my food, it's a different realm. For example, in Italy, and we are the only country in Europe so far, we have this law, which is called the Good Samaritan Law, which makes it possible to donate food, even cooked food, to a person in need. I mean, if I just walk on the street and I have some food and I see a person starving, I can give it, okay? Even if I'm an organization, even if I'm not an individual, but if I am an organization, I can decide to give it, and that's the only thing. I can do it because there is this law. But in all the other countries, you're right, there are problems of hygiene, safety, etc. But for supermarkets, it is like this. So if the police, yeah.
Like they could make a law to protect the restaurants and other food chains from wasting food or from the lawsuits. Like a law protecting them from the lawsuits, something like that.
Protecting restaurants, you mean?
Yeah, restaurants. Sorry. Because there's we waste a lot of food.
It's absolutely right. The problem there, so I give you an example, because laws are so different in so many countries. So for example, the problem is, on one side there are no incentives for donation. So for restaurants, throwing food away is much cheaper than donating it. That's a problem. It's not a problem of restaurants. I mean, it's a problem of probably it's a regulatory problem, okay? But still, the restaurant it's much easier. It's much easier and much cheaper to throw it away, and that's a problem. The other thing is that it can donate, but it must be the restaurant. It must be sure that food, like cooked, so it must be stored somehow, or fresh food. It must be in a fridge or whatever. So you have to donate it to something, so to some organization, which in turn has like the infrastructure. So like, for example, I don't know the English word, but the cars with fridges, like fridge trucks, I don't know, whatever. So, and that are very costly. And so non-profit organizations often cannot afford this because there is no public incentive for it. So they cannot afford to buy these huge trucks with fridge, and so they don't buy it, and so the restaurant that doesn't want the responsibility to give food which it's not stored in the proper way. So these are all there are many problems in this. They can be solved by probably fiscal incentives on somehow, to incentives to civil society organizations to buy these things on the other, through many different things. But that is exactly the problem with cooked food and fresh food. So
very briefly, as you know, I am working as a journalist and advertiser. I am working at the ICD. I am from Barcelona, but we are based in Berlin. I have been working there for a couple of years almost. we have a partnership in the ICD with Berliner Tafel.
Yeah.
And Berliner Tafel, I don't know if you know them, they are working, actually they are working on this. I was doing a clip for them, just because we have this partner, and because they got our intern sometimes, and they were working for that. Actually, they were very happy because at the end they took some food home and this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And one of the things I discovered as well, they are working volunteers, okay? So they take the food thanks to the volunteers. And people doesn't know really how many food we are wasting, and you can take it. Because in the supermarkets, one of the main things they are throwing away the food is not because it's wasted. It's just because it's a marketing issue. It's just because it doesn't look nice to be put in a place to sell. And maybe it's tasty, it's wonderful, and it's fresh. But you know, it's not nice, the tomato, it's not perfect. No, throw it away because nobody's gonna take it. This is the main thing. And sometimes the supermarkets, also supermarket restaurants, sometimes it happens this, because I heard that from the people. Yeah. There are some people that they prefer, literally, to throw it away than to give it for free.
Yeah.
Because for them it's like, wow, I am buying these, these groceries, I am buying the food. Why I have to give it for free? Sometimes it's just is.
Yeah, it's true. But on the other side, there are many examples. So it's true. You have bought it. Sorry, but if you are throwing it away anyway, so maybe, for example, it's better if you give it. You don't want to give it for free. Okay, you give it with a high discount, for example. So there are many ways to balance the need of people and also if you want, sustainability of the system. This is a huge problem. I still don't understand. I mean, we have many shops also in Milan, for example, which this is another typical habit. So after I don't know, let's say after 6 p.m. or after 7 p.m. They give like bread
special
for free.
Special
Okay.
offers, like in Berlin as well.
Special offers. I mean,
maybe three pieces of bread for €1.
Yeah, instead
like
of just throwing it away. So it's.
Okay, last question here, and then unfortunately it's all very interesting, but we need to move on to the next topic.
What you were saying. So when I was in France a few months ago, they were doing something they were calling the ugly fruit. So every fruit that doesn't look nice, nobody buy it. They put it for like on sale, like 70% off. So this is one strategy they were doing as well.
It was a powerful marketing campaign of the state.
And as
it
well
was
as
not
for donation, the supermarkets they were doing. Once you're at the supermarket, you just get a bag. They tell you this bag is for free, just for donation. So you take the bag, you put whatever food you want, and you give it back to them, and they donate this bag to the needy. So there are many
examples. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. There's another one there. He's really craving to have a question.
I'm Abba Bashir from Nigeria. I think there's one problem in managing food wastage. Now, if I, for example, possibly I go to the restaurant and I want to buy excess, is there any law that can say you don't buy excess?
You want to buy excess?
Yes.
Excess of
Maybe
food.
if I buy, say like, let's say I was at
I mean, there is no law telling you to do it.
Not to buy excess of what I need. More than what I need.
Yeah, but what you need, how can I decide what you need?
So Asian countries do have laws around that.
You can have laws.
Yeah.
Now, in this restaurant, I know if I buy, let's say, $1 rice,
Yeah?
enough for me.
Okay.
So don't buy above $1.
Okay, but then it's the same. I mean, it's not on the restaurant; it's on you. But then still, we have some surplus food.
And also, every each country would have different laws of
there are plenty
sanitation,
different
health and
laws.
safety, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Elisa, I'm sorry,
Absolutely.
but unfortunately,
Thank you for.
you have realized that. Yeah, thank you very much.